Welcome to the Goldfinger Minute, where every man has a story to tell and a reason to come to the Philippines. So stay tuned for some amazing stories.
Well, hello everybody. This is Goldfinger from the Goldfinger Minute, and today I have Joe. What do you know, Joe?
All that I need to know.
All that you need to know. There you go. Good comeback. And where are we from?
So originally Dublin, Ireland, and I've lived in Australia for about 35 years.
35 years in Australia. Okay. And that's a pretty long time. That's a lifetime, just about.
Well, it is a lifetime. If you're 65, it's
half a lifetime.
and you've still got a bit of life left.
A little bit.
And I'm looking forward to the next chapter because
Okay.
the
And
past we could easily forget about.
What did you do in Ireland?
I basically studied, and like everyone who grew up in Ireland at the time, sort of.
What were you
through
studying?
The 60s and 70s. So it's sort of, you go through school, then you do business studies, whatever you do. I
Well,
did business
did you go to
studies,
college?
marketing.
Did
Yeah,
you-
yeah. You know,
What
we
were you-
call it university.
Okay.
You call it, because I'm very unclear. Countries call it college, and sometimes that's senior school.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's university.
What did you take in the universities?
I did a business studies degree and then a master's of international finance.
Okay, very
'Cause
good.
I was
Business.
fascinated by business, but
Oh,
wasn't really what I ended up doing, bizarrely.
okay. And then we went to Australia for a long time. What did we do in
Well,
Australia?
first of all, I went to live in London.
Oh, okay.
Because what happens a lot in the Dublin universities is that the big recruiting companies in the UK do a tour of the 2 or 3 top universities and try to supposedly whip off the cream, shall we say. So I was lucky enough to float and be whipped off. And the rest is history. So I went to work in England for
Yeah.
a big electronics company for like give or take 10 years.
Oh, quite a bit of time. Okay.
And then I went to Australia.
And then Australia. And what happened? Why did you go to Australia?
Essentially sun. I mean, Dublin's a pretty grey, rainy, wet place.
In England.
And a bit the same. Dublin's a bit further north than London, and it's not as nice.
So you wanted sunnier skies.
I just wanted a...
Blue skies?
Well, how do I describe it? You know, obviously by then I'd started to travel. And so you get to Spain, you get to Italy, you realise, well, there is a better alternative.
Right.
And then you watch a few TV programs about Jacques Cousteau in Australia or somewhere, and you go, my God.
He was so famous, yeah.
He was so famous. No, you know,
Yeah.
Philippe Cousteau is the
Oh,
is the son.
Very well known.
But again, they're gone. The Calypso. But
We all have to move on.
Yes,
We
oh,
come
no, it's
back
true.
another life, I don't know.
so romanced. Plus, I'm a sailor. I love to sail.
Oh.
And I said to myself, wow, the idea of sailing and needing sun protection as opposed to heavy weather gear was very appealing. So that's basically what I did.
And
Came to Australia to sail.
and what did you do while you were in Australia, as for income or for work or what?
I basically, by then, I'd spent 5 or 6 years in London in essentially IT, high-end IT.
Okay.
But computers hadn't quite happened then. The PC was invented, if you like, what we know as the PC, those horrible things we...
Early 70s, maybe 80s is
Yeah.
where it really kind of came
Yes.
about. But
So
it still
it's-
wasn't.
Well, still wasn't happening.
Infamously.
Now,
Yeah.
so what I did bizarrely in the UK was I started with pure componentry, so selling to large IT, so manufacturing companies that needed individual componentry to make circuit boards to make their products, and then towards the end of that I got into robotics.
Were you in England as a tourist?
No, Ireland has a free trade. Well,
Oh, okay.
it's changed 3 times since,
Oh,
but
okay.
essentially Ireland had a free trade agreement with England. So you
and
could
then when
travel
you went to
between
Australia, how was that situation? Did you have
So I had to get a visa and do citizenship, the whole deal.
so you became a citizen of
Yes.
Australia. Interesting. So you so that gives you dual or triple citizenship?
Essentially dual.
Dual. Okay. And what made you? We're moving on. So what made you come here?
That's a little bit more complicated, but in essence, I'm at a point where I've effectively been structurally retired. What do I mean by that? Whether I like it or not, I'm retired. And Australia is very ageist, actually. So once you get to 65, they're looking to get rid of you, basically out of business.
So you're over 65 now?
Yes.
I didn't think you were.
Yeah,
What age are you?
65.
You look young.
I'm 66,
All right.
actually.
And when do you normally retire out of Australia? And how
67.
many years do you have to work there before you get a retirement income out of Australia?
Over 10, I think it is.
All right.
But I've had 30 years.
And they don't care if you leave the country; they'll still send you your retirement money.
Well, I mean, half the Australians you see around here, like half the Americans, are on Social Security
I
retirement.
understand, but Canadians have to go back home. I don't know if you knew that.
They can't.
Also,
they can't.
No, they have to go back home every 6 months, or they lose certain privileges. Okay.
Well, I think most of the Australians who live here might go back.
UKs have to go home to not lose their Social Security, is my understanding.
Okay.
Or their retirement income.
Look, I'm no expert, and I'm here on a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Well, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure you're here, that you could stay here. I don't know Australia's law.
So this trip is a holiday.
Okay.
As you know, I've met somebody, and we're progressing that.
Okay.
So, and as you also know, that it's not a trivial journey. That journey to find
Yeah.
a partner here, that you.
How
can-
did you meet the person you met?
on one of the dating sites, Filipino
was?
Cupid. Filipino Cupid.
Ah, okay. I met
God
Carolyn that way.
forbid, God forbid that I'd advertise them, because there's more scammer per probably 80% scammers.
You think on
20%.
Filipino Cupid there was
Yes.
that many? Oh, I didn't.
Oh, you haven't been on for a few years.
Well,
but
no, I haven't been on for 3 years.
Yeah, well,
maybe a
it
little
changes
over.
so fast.
Were you on the site before you came here?
Way on it before I came here.
Okay,
Yeah, I've
so
been on
was
it
it-
for like 5 years.
Oh, so you
With
met
no
your current
success.
person after multiple other.
Well, I wouldn't go say multiple others, but shall we say I've had a fair few false dawns.
And what happened with those?
I realized that they were practical impossibilities,
Okay.
either attitudinal, age, circumstances. Because one of the problems is when you meet in your sort of have a little dialogue with somebody, and they're really desperate. Next minute, they're asking you for money and load and various things.
Right.
And all the
Eventually.
diet size don't do it. So, are they all scammers? No. Are they desperate? A lot of them? Yes. And if they're too desperate, it doesn't work for me.
So the current girl, I know you met a girl here. Do you want to use her name or not? We can just call her N.
Just leave her at that. It's
Oh, I
just
want to
a-
call her something. So the current
Okay.
Filipina.
Yeah,
We'll call her
Filipina N.
Okay.
Yes.
So N, you met here. Did you meet her here? for
No,
the
on the
first time?
site. On the site.
But in person, did you meet her here
Yes.
in person here for the first time?
Yes. This
Did
time.
she meet you at the airport?
No.
No. Interesting. Usually they flock to the airport. They're
Well, I
afraid of finding someone
flew
else.
into Manila because you don't get to do
They
McGiddy
still
without
do.
going
They'll,
by.
they'll,
Okay.
they'll cross the country.
So
to find you.
they're good like that, yes. But she's, as you've worked out, because you've had a bit of dialogue with her, she's very bright,
Yeah, yeah.
very capable.
Yeah.
I call her blue pill, not red pill. But she's red pill, not blue pill. So she's quite alternate. She's very close to being a sort of natural homeopathic healer.
Oh, okay.
So she's
I
very
do know she
interested
knows
in things.
plants. We
Yeah.
took a walk with her
Took a
the other
walk,
day
it
to
was
have lunch,
unbelievable.
and during that she was showing me different plants and knew the names and what they're good for, arthritis or blood sugar or
Blood
things.
sugar, yeah. Exactly.
Mitochondria. She was very interesting because she does know all that stuff. She's good with
But
animals
she's
too.
she's trained nurse. She hasn't finished her. They go through a board certification process in the colleges they're in, and then they have to do a year of service in the hospital. Not that they aren't doing service as they're going along.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, how long before you got here were you in contact with her and having conversations?
6 months.
6 months, okay. And during that time, was there anything that you were concerned about? And all the other question I'm also going to ask is,
Oh, you're going. Where?
well, I'm also going to ask because it ties
Given that
into
you're
another-
sitting outside,
it
I'm not
ties
going to
into
say
another-
too much, but
But it ties into another question. So, was there other girls you were seeing on the site at the same time you were seeing or talking to?
I
N?
would say that I was dialoguing, perhaps with one or two others,
Okay.
but sort of had kind of worked them out to the point where
You were comparing, and you were.
But comparing seems harsh.
You were sight
Because I
dating.
mean, all that stuff. Well, it's funny. You first start Filipino Cupid, and then you get a response, and then you get 100 responses, and you realize, fuck, this is too much.
I know.
So you can't have any. You can't remember what you said the last time, or who you talked to, or whatever. So, or what you've told them, what you haven't told them.
And sometimes it's 2 or 3 days later they come back at you.
So, my experience on dating sites is the ones you want to come back rarely do. In her case, I wanted her to come back, and it took a week or so, and then she came back.
Okay, so
then I was a bit slow to get. So we're playing cat and mouse, and
that's fine. You're together now, but here's
we're
the
good
real
now.
question:
Did
you buy her? And the reason, and I'm not saying buy her in a way that like they do in Thailand. They actually buy girlfriends in Thailand. It's a whole nother subject. But did you provide her with funds for anything before you got here?
No.
Just to make sure she was locked down.
That was part of. We'll call that the testing process, shall we?
Okay,
call
the
it.
6-month testing process.
It's not a sophisticated process, but I try and avoid it. I mean, having said that, when you see the desperation in many.
No, I'm
of
not
them,
meaning that she asked you for anything. I'm meaning that you provided something for her just
No.
to keep her about.
No.
Okay, that's good.
Well, I figured, because I've been on the site long enough, I figured that exactly that. Keeping them interested financially is not a long-term solution to anything. And in a good way, it's a filter. Because if they're not still talking to you 6 months later, then they're not a candidate for a medium term. However, now that I understand that things are tough for these people.
Very tough, especially for female, more so than men.
Well, she's in her 40s, as you know.
I know. She doesn't look it, but she is.
But she's in her 40s. Has come out of some pretty awful relationships.
All of the Philippine families and girls especially are awful.
They have an awful time.
Typical that they usually will have children already.
She's got children by 2 fathers.
That she married or not married?
She wasn't married.
Either one?
Well, she did get married to somebody eventually who isn't a father of a child.
Of either groups of children.
She has 3 children by one and 1 child by another.
But she married a man who she didn't have children
with. A U.S.
with.
guy.
But she didn't have children with that particular person. Is that correct? No. Okay. So the children that she had was Filipino fathers?
Yes.
And how did that work out?
You don't want to know.
I already do know.
But you do know.
Point.
You
That's
do know.
Where I touched.
I mean, we're going really.
I'm not going to go down that hole.
No, good man. But just let me explain to your audience who may or may not have the experience. Don't be surprised. Everything you can imagine could happen to somebody has happened.
Yeah.
To most of them,
including incest. Okay.
Oh,
it's horrible here.
It's. I don't think she's had any problems with that. But
you can't ask because they won't say anything.
I'm not going to say. I'm not going to ask that question exactly.
Honestly, I've never asked Carolyn. She has a child with a man that she never married, and she doesn't know how she got pregnant. Think about that.
But it was fun.
I don't know because she doesn't remember as being fun or having anything exciting happen. All she knows is she got pregnant.
I will say that her first child was a product of a less than satisfactory liaison.
How are her children now?
Well, she's also worked overseas at various places.
Who watched the kids?
She has family who take care of the kids. So it's a blended family. And she takes care now of some of her...
Very common.
Her siblings'
She
kids.
went overseas because that's how you make more
money.
You make
money. Yeah, well, she worked in Manila. Yeah. Through COVID, she worked in Manila as an intensive care nurse.
Okay. But overseas, she was where?
So she's been to Thailand. Dubai? She's been to... No, I don't think she's been to the Middle East, but she's been to...
Thailand
and a few Asian countries, China.
Okay. It's pretty normal.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's very hard because you have to leave.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Think about it, China.
You're missing out on the growing up of your children, especially when they're
and she
little.
Loves her children. So in the end, when the Thai relationship no longer worked with the American, she realized, I'm stopping all this shit. I'm going home to my kids.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you miss your kids.
Yeah.
It
But they were
reminds
very
me-
well taken care of, and I'm here for a week, and already there's a phone call every morning to the kids to
Okay,
check
that's
in.
good. She's calling them.
and they're calling her, and
They're
the
calling her,
dog's
okay.
sad.
So
and
you've been here for a week already with
Give or take.
with Ann. We're just going to call her Ann.
Yeah.
Okay, Ann. Everything's been okay so far.
It's been wonderful.
All right. Now, lots of other questions, but how long are you staying here?
Essentially till after Valentine's weekend.
Well, we're
Another
we're in
4 or 5
February
days.
already. We're February. I don't want to say because this may not go out right away.
Yes.
But we're almost at the middle of February already.
Yes.
I
I'm
got-
gone pretty soon, in
Yeah.
a matter of 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I came here with 2 intentions. One was to meet her, clearly, and to try and put a bit of realism into that, as
Yeah.
opposed to
Long
all,
term,
all
you
the
have
things
to-
we think about. And there'll be more of that to be done, let's be honest. And I have no problem with coming back, let's be clear. But this trip is 10 days,
10 days. And
2
what do you
weekends
have?
and a week.
What do you have keeping you back in Australia? Do you
Very
have
little.
a home?
Well, technically, I have a home. Sounds like
Technically.
a stupid question. Yes, I have a home.
Yeah,
Small
okay.
little unit. But my children, who I have 5 children
Yourself.
myself.
And you had them in Australia?
In Australia with
You were
one
married.
wife,
With one wife. Okay.
5 children. The mother of my children is from Lebanon.
Oh.
So I'm clearly a devil for punishment. What's the word? Sadist. Is there not sadist? Masochist.
Are any of your children still in Australia?
No.
Are any of them younger than 18?
Yes. One.
And they're all...
who's going to school now in essentially he was going to live in Dubai. They changed their mind at the last minute to live in Lebanon because that suited mother.
Yeah, how am
more.
I not surprised?
Oh yeah, well that's mother. If you know, well you don't know mother, but trust me.
Well, I know kids follow the
Yeah.
mother, especially they follow their other siblings. So
Well, Sam and my child Sam and his mother are very close. They love each other dearly. Well, my ex-wife is a good mother, so there's no question marks there, and devoted to her children. So there's only one of. I have some older daughters who live in Dubai, and they're
Dubai.
professional people. They work in banks and they work in
Oh, yeah.
marketing companies and fashion
it's
companies.
interesting how Dubai has so many foreign people living there
Well,
to do the work because they don't need to work there. They have so much money. I
The
have a
locals
feeling
don't.
The,
But
the
so-
Dubai citizens get money without working. Is my
well, by
understanding.
virtue of the oil, right?
Yeah.
So how would I describe it? Dubai is trying to diversify out of oil money,
Really.
recognizing, well, they're in no rush, but
It won't last forever anyway.
No,
So
but-
they're developing from what I can see, they're developing their country as a tourist attraction.
tourist attraction,
But a high end.
and a high tech finance hub,
Okay.
right?
And they're
So-
bringing in money. It's
and
all
they're
about
bringing in
money.
people.
Yeah. But
Because
people with money.
the local skills, the local people don't have the skills, so they need to bring in skills from overseas.
Well, they have enough money to create the infrastructure, which is very unusual. I mean, obviously,
Well, they have the opposite problem.
they're creating Dubai. They're creating a Disneyland for adults. Okay, so it's not the normal
that
buildings.
would be underestimating.
Yeah,
It's
underestimated.
a very modern city.
They do drive expensive vehicles.
It's a very wealthy country, and there's a lot of good jobs there. Meaning, people who want to have a period out of their traditional country, the country you grew up in, are heading to Dubai en masse now.
Yeah.
I couldn't live there because I know it. I've been through it so
It's
many
also
times.
expensive.
A, it's expensive. B, I don't like it. And C, it's not my hood. It's not my place.
It's not your type of thing.
No.
Yeah, it's like living in Los Angeles or New York. It's just a little too much. I get it.
Well,
No,
I'm not sure what the deal is, but Australia's a very easy place to live in, like climate-wise.
It's not fancy.
It's
down to earth.
it's very down to earth.
Yes,
That's
yes.
one of the best. Like Australians are wonderful people. And
Yeah,
they
they're
are
down to
very,
earth, too.
and they are very grounded. And I'm sure you've met lots of them here.
Unfortunately, the Philippines is down to earth too. The problem is they have nothing. It's dirt.
Yes. Yes,
They have,
they're literally down to
they
earth.
really are.
And if they're trying to stay out of it as long as they can.
And I don't see a change for them.
No,
it's
it's
a
not.
shame.
It is a shame. I mean, that's the thing that I've realized.
They're not electronically technical. They don't build fancy places, except for some communities in what am I trying to think of? In the capital. What the hell is the name of it?
Manila.
Manila. There's a couple high-end communities, guarded, walled, in Manila.
BGC.
Well, there's even a nicer one than BGC, believe it or not.
Okay.
It's way nicer, like way nicer.
Wow.
Okay. But you have to be invited in, and you have to know somebody to live there. You can't just go there.
Is that Rockwell? Or?
I don't remember the name.
Okay.
I think so.
There are more and more of them now.
They're very affluent. There's 2 or 3 affluent.
Look,
very
affluent Filipinos are as wealthy as any American wealthy person, as any Asian. They're very wealthy.
Yeah.
But they're so few and far between.
Right.
Most
Just a handful.
Filipinos are
Yeah.
300 pesos a day, which is
Or less.
less than $10 a day,
Yeah, or less.
or less. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. And they're 50 to 75 years backwards in most of the communities. I'm dealing with a school right now.
And they got no ambition.
Well,
They're not stupid.
you know, when you
they're
have
bright.
nothing, it's hard to have
to
an ambition.
aspire. Yeah.
It's hard to have an ambition or anything when you have nothing and you're living day to day. It's very difficult. I'm dealing with a school now. I'm going to go see them hopefully tomorrow. There are 300 students. It's in a bigger community called Bakong, which is right
I know where
next door.
Bakong, yeah.
But they only have 300 students. From my understanding, I have to go there. It's a public school, and they have no books, no bookcases, very little educational material except for the teachers, and a chalkboard.
Yeah, good old-fashioned chalkboard.
I know I could help them out and fix them up. Okay.
Bit of this IT over there would be wonderful.
Well, that's jumping up too
screens.
much. They
Yeah.
For now, they need books and bookshelves.
Basic things,
And
yeah.
pencil and paper. They need some basic,
But I mean, I always think when I look at Asia from an Australian perspective / European perspective, that the ones that, like Korea, they jumped ahead 2 or 3 technology generations faster than the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they have better broadband, they have better internet, so their kids, the young ones who pick up that shit real quick, can thrive. And that's how you create the visionaries and the Googles and the new stuff. Now, they're not on that page here. They basically the essentially corrupt politicians, we call them, would rather keep them all in the gutter for as long as they can.
I like to know what country doesn't have corrupt politics.
Well, nobody. I mean, as
No
we're
such
learning,
thing.
no such thing. And when I think about growing up, with stars in my eyes in Ireland, naive, I think, my God, how naive was I?
I have some friends. They're foreigners. They send their schools to Chinese schools here. Chinese schools are. The good part is very diligent.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to be on time. You have to do your studies.
Yeah.
You have to have good grades, or they're not going to keep you. I mean, you really have to keep it. They're going to learn, but they're also going to learn Chinese, okay, and sing Chinese songs and learn Chinese customs, because that's part of the education that a Chinese school will do. Okay, so not trying to convert them or anything, but they're going to have to learn some Chinese information. Okay,
Yeah.
and English, and they'll also teach them either Tagalog, Visayan, or Cebulan. And they have a lot of studies, and they're very studious. The kids are very studious, very high. But the Filipino children can't go there because it's not cheap.
Yes.
It's not cheap. They can't go there.
So a local school costs you what, $4 or $5 grand, if that, a year.
They don't have that kind.
And-
You
and-
mean
and-
a public school or
Well, I mean, it's even less.
they don't have that money. They don't have the money.
So that literally a public school is like $1,000,
I
pesos
don't know
a
if
year.
they even pay for it. To be honest with you, I think
Okay.
it's public. It's publicly paid for.
So
But they
some
don't
of these
have
schools
supplies.
are 10 grand plus.
They don't have. Yeah. Well, the schools that you pay for. Yeah.
It's funny. I think of the Philippines, my observation, it doesn't mean anything more than it's my observation, is there factories for mariners, so seafarers. So half of the ships floating around the world are manned by Filipinos. And that is
It's a very good paying job.
It's a good, $2,000 US a month.
Yeah. And they're gone for 6 months.
And
That's
they're
a lot
gone
of
for
money.
9 months.
Yeah.
And they get a month off, and then they're gone for another 9 months, and they get a month off.
It's a tough
Nurses for
job.
the girls. So they they have nurse factories and seafarer factories. So when we talk about colleges here or universities here, they're focusing on core things they can export. Well, that the wealthier, or we won't call them wealthier, but the lower class that have some ambition for their children, can afford, and they just churn them out.
It's also very common here for the eldest child to help pay for the siblings to go to any kind of education.
Well, if they get a job at $2,000 US, they're funding the whole family.
They give up their own future to help the others. That's very common here. That's just expected.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing that's expected, which we've talked about, is that they're brought up in the provinces. Provinces are like being out on the country or the ranch or something like that, what we would call in the USA, out in the country or the boonies, and they have. It's not even public education. It's basically someone in the community that can teach as best as they know, the kids show up. Okay, they don't have anything. It's not even
anything's better than nothing.
Well, yeah, they get some education, but very little. And of course, the kids are needed to provide income. So even at a young age, they're put to work, whether it be rice or pineapples or coconuts or animals or whatever they have. Growing corn or whatever they have to do. So. It's pretty tough because the parents require them to do that in order to put rice on the table. They don't get a lot of protein.
No.
Okay. And so from that, girls typically are depressed further than men because boys can carry more of a load for the amount of food they eat and what it costs. Boys.
They're a better workhorse.
They are the workhorse. Okay. They're young and they're energetic. Parents, or especially grandparents, are expected just to watch the babies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe cook some meals for everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
And they get support in their old age when their income is dried up.
They're kept in the house. They're expected to stay in the house and be taken care of. They don't go out. They're not sending them out to home.
Because there's no welfare. There's nothing.
There's no home for the aged here.
No.
Okay, that doesn't happen.
The whole country's a home for the aged.
And then so the girls are sent off to get a job in the city.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which is
and they're taken advantage
of. Dodgy.
Well, yeah.
And of course, I mean, there's 110 million Filipinos, so let's say half of them are girls, so that's 55 million, and 20% of them are.
There's more girls than boys.
Unmarried mothers.
So what typically happens is the girls get pregnant because Catholic is very strong here. They don't believe in any kind of contraceptive, so the girls don't even know about contraceptive. It's not taught in schools. Sex education does not. They're very backwards here. So sex education, there's no such thing of it in the schools. They're not and this is why some girls, including my wife, has no idea how she got pregnant or what happened.
No, I can get that.
That's crazy.
I mean, it sounds
it's hard
crazy.
for us to understand coming from a first world country.
Well, that's one of the big things you got to learn. If I listen to a lot of the people you've interviewed over the years, and Daddy Paul and Paul Thornton before, lots of them.
Daddy Paul, I like that.
Yeah,
that's what she calls him. Yeah,
she calls him Daddy Paul.
Calls him Daddy Paul. Yeah.
What's it? Old dog. You call him old dog.
Well, I call him Daddy Paul when I want to joke with him.
Okay.
Hey, Daddy Paul.
It's cute though. It's cute, and people give him a hard time for that.
Oh, he's
she's Baby May, and he's Daddy Paul, and he doesn't give us stuff.
They're very tight. So
they're cool. They're cool. I like them.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting at is, I've slowly got to understand the culture and how things run here, and I'm still learning. Don't get me wrong, but it's been interesting.
Okay, so
and
now
definitely
we're going to move forward. You came to me to rent a bike.
Yes.
And peptides. I don't know which one came first. I think the bike was first.
Well, I need a bike for the time I'm here.
A scooter.
Why not work with you?
All right.
That's a done deal.
So
but the real thing was peptides.
But the scooter, and you knew how to ride, but the scooter I'm sure was quite... by the way, you left your helmets here?
Yes. That's the other reason I was coming back.
You rented 2 days ago? I'm trying to remember. 2 days ago.
No, yesterday.
Was it yesterday? Okay.
Jesus
oh my God.
Christ.
I'm telling you, I'm so busy. So, and your helmets were still on the table, so you've been riding around with helmets. Okay. So they're out there. Okay.
I haven't, I knew that. I haven't been riding. Because I got home and I said, what do we do with the helmets? And I said, oh, shit, we left them on the table.
And I got so busy, I forgot to send you a message or something.
No, you were busy. And I sent you a message because I went looking for a money changer, right, to complete our peptide transaction. And realized, well, eventually I found a place.
That's good.
The place was closed before I
Oh,
Read
Optimum Traders was closed, or the other place was closed?
the Optimum Traders was closed,
They're the best one.
and they're definitely the best one.
Yeah.
Anyone who's doubting, best way to get.
And
a
where did
good
you find
conversion.
that place?
Oh, somebody I know. I'll give you a plug for your book,
Thank you.
and it's certainly,
Everything you want is in the ebook. I
It's
swear
all there.
I'm getting a shirt. Do you have the ebook? And I'm going to have Paul come here on a live.
RTFM. You should get a shirt. Art, read the fucking manual.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm. And be sure to ring that bell so you'll be notified when I post another video. See you then.